Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. It is Cowboy, and it is 8:30 a.m. EST. We're here for the live trading, live market analysis. I don't know if there's going to be any trading just yet. The market really extended in a particular direction here. So let me go ahead. I may need to refresh my screen. So give me just a moment to do that. Sorry for the technical glitch, folks, but it's better that I catch it now and fix it before we get too far into the show. All right. Okay, good. So the screen's working. I'm going to start with the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ went ahead and made its way up, and it's really inside of a giant wedge. And, I know wedges are kind of the old school pattern trading type thing, and that's fine. The old school stuff works. I'm not trading based on that. I expected the NASDAQ to head up. Kind of gave this out to my private group yesterday morning with this resistance up here at 22,417. Price made its way up there far more quickly than I expected. Now, I did expect less bullishness in the market due to all of the conflict over in the Middle East. And therefore, I went ahead and thought it would take a little more time to head up, but I still thought it would head up. It shot right up, made its way down from this resistance. And right now, if I were to take a guess at the direction, I think it's still going to head up. I think it's just going to do it as I drew, more or less. I think it's going to kind of wind up and sideways, right? So more or less this, but it's going to be, just a slow grind. And it may make its way over like this and eventually make its way above 22.4. But that's a tough ask because 22.4, if I'm not mistaken, is the all-time high. Let me back out of this screen and see if that assumption is correct. Yeah, so, price is really flirting with all-time highs on the NASDAQ. The market doesn't seem to be concerned about whatever is or isn't going on over in Israel. And let's talk a little bit about that before we move in to Bitcoin, etc. And I'll talk very briefly. What's gone on is that unconfirmed. The Iranians fired a missile after the ceasefire on Israel, right? So there was a ceasefire that was supposedly agreed to. Iran claimed there is no ceasefire, but we'll stop shooting. Okay, so the not ceasefire came into effect yesterday. And then I guess right as it was going down, according to Donald Trump, Israel just shot off a bunch of rockets right in the last minute. Just to what seems to me is a final FU, which is kind of typical for Israel. Iran apparently didn't do that. We don't really know what's true at this point. But what ended up happening was there was a rocket that was either fired or reported as fired from Iran. It was shot down, didn't do any damage, supposedly. And then Israel says, okay, we're going to keep shooting. And now no ceasefire effectively is stopped. I don't know. Donald Trump's going to try to put a stop to the stopping, meaning that he wants to make sure the fighting stops. So everything is really developing, right? Everything is kind of confusing over there. But what doesn't seem to be confusing or confused are the markets. The markets are acting like nothing is going on. And this is a clue. This might be telling us that whatever's happening over there is going to be held down. It's telling us, I think, that unless somebody really goes off the rails and causes a lot of damage, unless somebody really just decides that they want to commit suicide, basically, then things will probably stay calm over there. It's kind of like Ukraine in a way, in that the only people involved are going to be officially Russia and Ukraine. The same sort of thing. The only people who are going to be officially involved are Israel and Iran, with the exception of the U.S., situation where they dropped a few firecrackers on top of Fordo that Trump claims destroyed it, and other people say that it was impossible for them to really do any damage, and we're going to leave that alone. But the markets themselves are just marching as if nothing's going on. So let's take a look at gold, which should be skyrocketing in the advent of World War III. It's doing quite the opposite. I thought we would get sideways action yesterday. Gold is actually continuing down, which I believe is more in line with the original gold forecast. No, I thought gold would head up too. A lot of people did. Given the events of Friday, I thought gold would ignore the algos and head up, but it is headed down. I did have a contingency for that, and this blue line that you see here, I'll turn it kind of a hard blue here. The blue line was the algo, like what the algo was calling for, right? So more or less, that's what's happening, just a lot more quickly than what I thought. So again, the markets are not acting like we are at war, certainly not. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I thought Bitcoin would fall again based on panic and war, but it's actually doing the opposite of what I thought. So this is one that I got wrong. I did get it right at first. It did want to head up, but I thought it would bounce off this and head down. And apparently it's got the gas to keep going. So Bitcoin is up at 105,000. We've got, let me see here. I don't see any requests in the chat, so I'll just continue down the list here. Again, the euro doing what I didn't think it would do. Now, of course, on Monday morning, I revised all of these, and these were more correct. So yeah, the markets are not acting like World War III. And when I did these charts on Sunday, I'm like, okay, World War III. So I had that bit of kind of bent on the situation. So definitely the markets are acting wild. So let's take a look at the euro from what's actually happening to the charts right now. The euro has been held up, I believe, artificially. The bullishness in the euro going back, and this is a high time frame chart. You're looking at a chart going back to like 2024, almost 2023. And this move up going back to the beginning of the year. Look, Europe doesn't really produce that much. They don't have all that Europe really does in a big way is just make money on their colonies, or what used to be their colonies and are effectively their economic colonies, right? So, I mean, sure, they make a few cars and, cheese and wine, but in the end, Europe is a massive socialist place. Socialist places are not known for producing that many goods. They don't have natural resources to speak of. They don't have oil, so they can't pull anything out of the ground. What they can do is make money off of, say resources that their colonies take out of Africa and then transmute that money through financial means into their economy. Not too different to what the US does, except the US also produces a lot more things and has a lot more resources. So the US can back things up. And yet the euro continues to head up as they cut rates. So if you think about that, that's interesting. They've cut their rates like, 9 or 10 times, and their currency moves up against the dollar, which we have not cut our rates at all. So we got to think about that. As that's literally the opposite of what should be going on. And so there are a lot of conversations about why this is going on, and that's fine. We don't need to know the details necessarily. It's good to know things about the bond market, etc., to know which way the wind is blowing. But in this case, these charts are just bullish. The euro and the pound, for that matter, are both going up heavy against the dollar. So what's going to happen next, right? Well, I'm going to bring us down to like the daily chart, the swing trading chart, and price is up against a resistance. Now, it is bullish, but will it be able to push above here? Well, what we do see for now is a bit of consolidation. And look, the traders, real traders, love forex. This is where I spend my time. And, I know a lot of people got into trading because they like crypto, but the reality is forex is like way easier to trade than crypto, a lot more opportunities, a lot more predictable. So, this is what we talk about over at Algo Factory. Is if you want to be a trader and extract money from the market on a regular basis, in my opinion, forex is the way to go. Now, we do have a bit of a range. It's not the cleanest range right here, so I can just go ahead and put the top and the bottom of this move at the edges of this range, and I think price will rotate here until it doesn't. Now, there is a pretty strong resistance with which that must contend in order to pop up above that range, right? And with the uncertainty going on, ceasefire, no ceasefire, all that stuff's developing. We don't know what's going on with that, but the markets seem to be pretty calm. So I think this for now is pretty tradable. We just have to, kind of understand that headlines can ruin our trades. So just make sure that you're responsible with your stop losses, or, just be willing to take that hit and then take advantage of the volatility that follows. So this is swing trading time frame, right? So until this breaks up or down, then a day trader can actually win, possibly by trading the range, right? So let's go down to the day trading time frame here. kind of the 30-minute we'll say here. And there's even a bit more of a mini range inside of this. If you look at the wicks of these candles, there seems to be a propensity to bounce at these levels as well. So if you're algorithmically trading, you can combine that structure plus the whatever data you've got to win these trades. But I think the more of a sure thing might be to wait for price to go ahead and make its way to either the top of this or the bottom of that, right? And that's going to allow us to see a much clearer structure where price might turn around. Now, if you don't like trading ranges, and a lot of people don't like to trade the chop, and I understand that, I am a trend trader myself, I like breakouts, then you just got to kind of wait for price to break either up or down. Now, high time frame price does want to break up, but it needs to contend with this recent very, very strong structure that we drew on a much higher time frame, right? So we're going back to like, what is this, June 12th. And we're now here at the end of June, basically. So this is like a week, almost 2 weeks ago, this high right there. Price is going to have a hard time breaking that. Or if it doesn't have a hard time breaking that, then that means price is very bullish. I would be very careful trading in this area to the upside. But if it breaks that high, not the range high, but this high right here, and then I'd look for some longs, as long as it can be like a convincing break, maybe a break, a pullback, and then a long. That might be the way to go. Now, there could be a rejection either here, which might be a nice little short, or even here, which might be a nice little short. My algos will give me some clues, but right now it's pretty dangerous to trade in this area. The markets are just kind of flopping around, and the reason they are is because of all that movement that we've had over the past couple of days. Price really has just extended. And it's all due to all this crazy news. And, so we got to be real careful with that. Again, if I zoom out here, you'll see on the 3-hour chart, and if you even zoom out further, you'll see price has just been really, really plowing up, for quite a long time. So the pullbacks that will happen are brutal, right? Especially if the move is up on a high time frame, the pullbacks tend to be brutal and quick. You'll get them if you're if you have algos that can help you, or if you're fast or whatever. But I would be pretty careful on those shorts, just given the high time frame longs. And as a matter of fact, I might be waiting for price to flip long and be a safe trade, whether it goes down to this area and I can grab a quick long, or whether it breaks up and I grab a long over the top. So this basically is, a pretty big price action clinic, if you will. And so I'm going to go ahead and move over to algofactory.tech, but please get your free algo. Link is in the description. Join us here, 8:30 a.m. EST, Tuesday through Thursday. We'll talk about what's going on in markets. We'll talk about what I think is going to happen in the future. If you guys have requests, feel free to put it in the comment section, whether you're watching this now or whether you're watching this after the fact. And again, we're going to head to the Algo Factory Live Lab. I do expect V the Gorilla to join us today, at least from the conversation that we had yesterday. And I do appreciate everybody watching. There's one thing we must never, ever forget.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. Nobody's going to die. Alan Rickman is just having a laugh. So relax, enjoy yourselves. There's a lot of free content on the YouTube channel. Go check that out if you want to get just a lot of free content. It's not going to teach you everything, but it'll give you some clues. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow bright and early. Peace.